So my name is Marissa Fagan, and I am going to tell you about careers in information security and what specifically as undergraduate students you should be doing today to help you get a better job in the near future. So I started off just being sort of a security enthusiast in high school. All of my friends were talking about hacking type stuff, and we were kind of always on the computer doing IRC stuff and just being kind of nerds. So the idea to go into information security was kind of an obvious one, but I wasn't sure how to go about it. So I came to Georgia State and did the information security track at here and took this class, and I really liked the problem-solving aspects and how you could treat real-life human situations as puzzles, and I thought it was very interesting and something I wanted to pursue. So I got an internship, and that's how I started. And I was still at State. Last year I got an internship with a startup company that was started by somebody that I already knew. So I used my current social network to get into a job that I later am still at today. After the internship, they hired me full-time as a security project manager. So I mentioned what kind of jobs specifically are you looking for. Here are some examples. You can be a security project manager like me, and I will tell you how I did that. Or you can be a researcher, creating exploits, seeking vulnerabilities, and having people pay you just for your research. That's a very popular field in information security. You can also be a network engineer, an analyst, talking about trends in vulnerabilities in the industry. You can be a security manager, being at a firm or a corporation, probably being the only security person there, kind of the lone security evangelist. That's something that a lot of people are. There are a lot of security aspects to just programming in general. Being a programmer with a security background makes you a lot stronger and stand out. I work for a consulting company, so you can be a consultant and just come into businesses telling people what's wrong with their security and then leaving and let them fix it. And you can also, the industry is still young enough that you can just create your job. You can be whatever you want to be and be pretty successful. So most of this, get an internship, you probably already know. But I'm going to tell you specific things that you might not know that you definitely should be doing right now. The first thing is you need a blog. And my blog is eratasec.blogspot.com. You can use one of the major blog hosting sites. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be even a very frequent posting thing, but you need to be doing something on the internet that's showing who you are and what your skills are. The second thing is you should be on Twitter. And I'll talk more about Twitter because it's kind of a hard sell to people saying Twitter specifically, really. But it is very important to be on Twitter in security. Also, I will talk to you about how to create your own internship. The security industry is very weird about internships. They don't have a set program like a law firm or other places where internships are just what people do. So you're going to have to create your own internship. And also, you're going to have to learn how to love public speaking. This is the most important part of my job. So first, the blog. I really stress that everyone should start a blog and just get in the habit of writing about security and thinking about it in an analytical way. And blogs are going to be what you put on your resume as your writing sample. It's going to show how much you know above and beyond your CV, which at this point is just not that big. And you're going to talk about, you might be wondering what you're going to talk about, and I suggest that you talk about whatever you learned in class each day here. Just go home and write about what you learned in this class, because one, you're piggybacking on information that somebody else wrote. Are you still using the Bruce Schneier book?
We're actually trying a different one this time. Schneier's a backup, but it's a book that Mike Whitman, who's a professor at Kennesaw, wrote with one of his colleagues.
Okay, Mike Whitman. And what's it called?
Principles of Information Security.
Principles of Information Security. That sounds like a perfect place to get topics for a blog post. Short, 300-word, doesn't have to be a big deal, but introduce a concept and talk about what you think about it, what you know about it, and what you think about is what should happen in the future. Easy, and you can start developing more and more of these, and you'll pretty soon have a library of writing samples. make sure it's quality over quantity. You don't have to do this every day. I don't even do it every week, but the more you do it, the more you can show. And my blog is aroundasec.blogspot.com. This is our company blog, but we keep it pretty informal. Everybody posts to it. We share. If you guys want to start something in a group together, that's fine. Most blogs that are about security have 3 or 4 writers. So Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter? It should be everyone. And you really need to start talking to the people in the industry and get them to talk to you. It's a very social industry. People need to know your name. That's why, I introduced myself 3 or 4 times just to make sure that you know that my name is Marissa Fagan, and on Twitter I am DEWZI, GZ. And I would love it if all of you would friend me and ask me questions, see what I can do to introduce you to other people via the site. And it's just a really good way to meet people that you will otherwise never get a chance to meet. And here everyone is kind of on the same level. You can talk to CEOs, CTOs, as well as researchers, people that wrote books that you might even read someday, and everyone's sort of talking on the same level because of the anonymity of the 140 characters or less. So I try to every day ask one question of some kind and answer 5 questions, or answer a poll or comment on something. And the main place to get friends and to learn about who is in the security industry is the Twitter group called Security Twits. And this is about 1,000 people now. They've completely overrun the buffer of how many people you can have for one group. So there's 5 or 6 different groups that are associated with Security Twits, and this is basically the cool kids club. Everybody who's anybody in security, who's publishing books, who's making the big money, they're all in this group, and you, due to the nature of Twitter, you can just friend all of them or any of them, and they will show up in your feed, and you can comment on what they're saying. And most of the time they won't comment back, but sometimes they will, and those times are when you start developing friendships that you can capitalize on later if you are in the same city as one of them, or if you go to a conference. And conferences are a big place to meet these people that you are friends with on Twitter. So I would recommend not considering going to a conference because they are kind of expensive, the travel costs, until you have made some plans for what you'll do there. And what I did was I started to get to know people on Twitter. Then when I went to my first conference, I had expectations to hang out with a bunch of people, and I knew that it wouldn't be a waste of the time in between the sessions. So you're probably most curious about what to do to get an internship. And the sad fact is that you're going to have to get an unpaid internship. It's a hard thing for most people, and so I think do the minimum that you can get away with. But most security industry companies, especially in Atlanta right now, they're not used to hiring interns. They aren't really going to be receptive to paid internships. They won't know what to pay you anyway, and it's really going to require a lot of work on your end. But internships are the reason, I think they're the reason why people go to college, so they can be an intern as opposed to just an entry-level employee. And it's extremely important to do some kind of internship so that you get your feet wet, find out what you do and don't like about security, because it's a very broad field, and just get as much exposure as you possibly can. So this is going to be, an internship is, make sure that it appears to be for your benefit and not just for the company's benefit. I'll show you some of the comments on my Twitter feed about internships, and, are kind of just jokes that are like, internships are good slave labor, that sort of thing. But make sure that you prove to them that you are not just somebody that they can get to do menial tasks. You are somebody that they should invest in and teach, because you will probably stay with the company and contribute. And so you want to sell your passion and not your CV. Obviously, you don't have any experience, and they're not going to hire you because they want you to do some work. They're going to hire you because they see that you are very interested in the field. And the way to do that is to make your own curriculum. It takes days to do this. You have to create a schedule based on the 3 months that you're going to be there, the semester, and talk about, based on what you've read about the company, what you think you could do there, just make something up. And may not be what actually you end up doing, but it shows that you have interest, it shows that you know the company, and it shows a lot of foresight. They are going to be impressed by this, and I guarantee if you can get somebody to read a curriculum of what you think an internship would look like, they will probably hire you. So my focus when I was here doing InfoSec was project management. So what I did was I took the errata security tools that they were using for penetration testing, these wireless scanners and the sorts of things, and I made up a timeline for doing updates. In the first month I collected user responses for what they thought could be better about the tools. In the second month we did the programming, and in the third month did support. And I had an entire Microsoft project Gantt chart, which I love. Gantt charts are my favorite thing in the world. And then after that, at the end, I was able to write up a paper about my experiences and got credit for a course, but also got my feet wet in a big way, being exposed to the consulting side of security penetration testing, which is really cool, and also the security side. So, also the project management side. I was able to combine two things that seemingly would have been separate if I hadn't combined them and wrote my own curriculum. But if you're still having trouble getting an internship, maybe what you want to do is approach people as a mentor. People are much more responsive to being a mentor because they think it's going to be a lot less commitment on their part. So start in that avenue. If you can figure out who specifically you want to work with, which company, you figure out which person you want to work with, and then talk to them about being a mentor. And then when they're convinced that being a mentor is great, say, well, now that you're my mentor, what would really help me out is if you agreed to be like my internship sponsor. It'll only be 3 months. I promise it won't be painful, and I will make it as easy as possible on you. You just have to teach me what you do. You don't have to teach me what anybody else does. It's like a mentorship, except more formal. So that was really how I convinced my my internship advisor at the company. And like I said, I started with a startup. I love startups. I think that Atlanta is a perfect place for startups. There is a ton of them, and especially offshoots off of the ISS now, IBM people. There are still a couple of really successful companies in Atlanta that you can Twitter me about, and I will tell you about and give you some suggestions about who you should be talking to, who you want to ask about convincing them that you are the passionate person they want to do their internship program that they don't even know they have yet. So public speaking. This, for me, counts as public speaking. And also a couple other things that are going to seem really easy, and it was not that hard for me to get public speaking experience, and it won't be hard for you either. I've got some suggestions to do that. But public speaking is the key to success. You are going to have to be comfortable sharing your ideas. The more that you can talk about these ideas in a way that convinces other people, the more successful you're going to be. Because a lot of security does require buy-in from some people that are going to be reluctant. The managers are going to be reluctant to admit that there's a problem. They're going to be reluctant to spend the money that you're asking for, especially in this economy. Some of the price tags for services are really expensive, but you have to convince them that it gives them peace of mind and even in some cases compliance. So you'll be, if you decide to go as a security engineer in a firm, you will be the lone advocate for security, and the more that you can convince people that you know what you're talking about, especially in your 20s and as a starting entry-level worker, the more you're going to succeed. And the better you are at public speaking, the faster you're going to get promoted. And it's just that simple. Also, public speaking is a great way to network. Everybody now knows me, and all I had to do was show up. So if you can go to these Atlanta meetings, the first thing you should do is go to the NASEG meeting, which it's at Taco Mac, I think, or Gordon Biersch, but you don't have to be 21. It's a restaurant. Just go to the meetings twice. They're once a month, and then on the third time, I guarantee that somebody will invite you to do a talk. And when they do that, you should definitely accept and talk about your favorite issue that you learned about in this class and your experiences with it. And then also talk about this class specifically. Georgia State has kind of a unique program that a lot of universities don't have yet, which is a business school offering information security. It's not engineering specific. It's focusing on the business practices, the policy sides of it, and this is very interesting to a lot of security people that aren't aware of these programs, and these programs were not around when they were in college. So I've had a lot of people ask me all kinds of questions about this particular class. So these are less than an hour-long meetings. It's not painful, but totally counts as public speaking experience, and I would even put it on my resume. And record yourself if you want, and you can put it on your blog. You know, talk about cross-promoting everything between your Twitter, your blog, your resume, and in real life is how you promote yourself. And in security specifically, it is all about how you promote yourself if you want to get if you want to be successful and get one of these bigger jobs. So speaking of the bigger jobs, I will post a link on my blog to a study that was done talking about the state of careers in information security right now and what you have to do to not only get a job, but also be so successful that you make over 100K, which is hopefully the goal. Everyone wants to be successful. And one of the things that they talk about is, this is Mike Murray and Lee Kushner from Information Security Leaders did a study for over 2 years, and they found that one of the most important things to do was to have a career plan, something on paper that talks about what specific steps, such as this, that you're going to do to become a success in your particular goal. So I'm going to show you now my Twitter feed, and